7th grade, here we go into lesson 16. Before we start lesson 16, I would ask you to think back for a minute to yesterday and think, if we were in school, did I actually absorb the lesson from yesterday? Because if we were in school, we would be taking a quiz right now. So if we were taking a quiz, the very first thing I'd ask you is, what are the three groups of the number line? And then I would ask you to name and describe some groups of numbers. There were three of them. If you can't do that, maybe pause, think about it for a second, and then I'll talk some more after you come back with me. But someday we'll end up probably taking a quiz. The three groups of the number line were positives, negatives, and zeros. And then ask yourself if you could spell those. Positive, especially think about the middle vowel. Positive, negative, zero. You can pause it and try to spell them, see what you think. But positive is P-O-S-I-T-I-V-E. Negatives, N-E-G-A-T-I-V-E. Zero is just zero. You just put the digit. The types of numbers, if you don't take a second, pause it, think about that if you remember the types of numbers. Types of numbers were counting, which were also called natural numbers. That's 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 means goes forever. There were whole numbers, W-H-O-L-E. That's like 0, 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 same list, but includes 0. And then there were integers, I-N-T-E-G-E-R-S is the one people forget the most. The integers have dot, dot, dot at both ends of the list. And then you capture like the middle part of the number line, something like dot, 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 -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, dot, dot, dot. But today we're doing rounding. So I'll give you a little mini lesson on rounding, and then I'd ask you to, when you think you understand rounding, pause the video and try to round those, and then I'll keep talking once you unpause me. Rounding is like a 5-step plan. If you want to round, you first find a certain place you want to round to. You look to the right of that one spot. If you find a number when you look to the right and you're looking a position farther than where you're rounding, if you find a 5 or more, you're going to go up 1 with your number. If it's 4 or less, you just keep the number you have. And then everything to the beginning, left of the number, is going to just copy, copy, copy. Everything to the right is going to fill zeros. If you think you understand and remember that, take a second, round these to the 10, the 100, the 1,000, the 10,000, and then come back and listen to how to do it. If you know you don't know how to do it, just keep listening. But if you think you got this, just pause it, do it, and see. To round this to the 10, we first find the 10's place. This is the 10's place. We look to the right, as 5 is the boss. 5 is going to decide for us what to do. Since this is 5 or more, we send this up a number. The 8 becomes a 9. Then in the beginning, we're going to copy, 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 and a 0 at the end. If we want to round to the 100, the 2 is in the hundreds place, so that's where we're going to have to either leave it a 2 or push it up to a 3. The 8 is the boss of that process. The 8 is bigger than 5, so the 2 pushes up to be a 3. And then at the beginning, we'll copy, copy, copy. And now we've got 2 zeros at the end. If we go to the thousands place, that's the 7. The boss is now the 2, because we're always going to look to the right. So we keep the 7, because 2 is not enough to round that up. Copy, copy. And now we've got 3 zeros at the end. For the last one to the 10,000s place, that's where the 4 lives. So that puts the 7 in charge when we look right. Since 7 is in that 5 or up club, the 4 becomes a 5. Copy to the left, and zeros all the way out. We'll do another sequence of 4 in a second, but first I'll point out, if you're rounding to the 10, 10 has a 0. Your answer has a 0. If you're rounding to the 100, it has 2 zeros. Your answer has 2 zeros. 1,000 has 3 zeros. Your answer will have 3 zeros. 10,000 has 4, so the answer has 4. At least that much. Sometimes you might even get another stray 0. If I created some problems up here that there were zeros in the problem, you might even get any more zeros than that. But the 0 count in your answer should be as high or maybe even higher by coincidence than the 0 count that we were starting from. I'll throw up a new number. And then you can pause and do the same thing that you just did. So if I go 235, 981, grab a scrap of paper, take 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it takes you. Try to round these without the explanation. And then when you come back, hit the unpause and we'll crash through a bunch of answers. To the tens place is the 8. 1 is not enough to change that, so leave the 8. And we keep all the stuff to the left and 1 0 at the end because 10 had a 0. Hundreds place is the 9. The 8 is big enough to push that up. When you push 9 up to be a 10, an interesting thing happens. When the 9 becomes a 10, we can only leave the 0 part of the 10 and carry a 1 like you do for adding. Now that's up to a 6. Continue to always copy the left, some zeros at the end. Thousands place is the 5, so 9 is the boss. 9 pushes that up to a 6. Copy the beginning, zeros for the end. 10,000 is here, so 5's the boss. 5 tells 3, you got to go up to 4. Copy the beginning, 0 the end. Again, a minute ago I said the 10 will usually have a 0. The 100 will usually have 2. We can get more, that's okay. We ended up, because of the carrying and stuff, a bonus 0, no problem there. The 1,000 needs 3 or more zeros. 10,000 needs 4 or more zeros. So that worked just fine. We'll do one more sequence of this. So we're going to go 419997. Take a second, pause, do this. A strange thing's going to happen when you do though. You'll notice something about the answers get a little bit weird, but give it a try and then unpause. The tens place is here. 7's the boss, so 7 makes 9 a 10, which carries a 1, which makes a 9 a 10, which carries a 1, which makes the 9 a 10, which carries a 1. And that's a 2, that's a 4, and we need a 0 at the end. If we go rounding to the 100, the exact same answer happens. Because in the hundreds place, here, this 9 pushes you up to the 10, and you do the same carrying. For the thousands place, same thing happens. This is the thousands place. This 9 pushes this up to the 10, the same carrying happens. And if we round to the 10,000s, the 1 is in the 10,000s, the 9 just pushes it up, it's the exact same thing. Again, it's not a problem if you get a ton of zeros. You just have to have at least this many. This needed 4 and had it. This needed 3, we ended up with 4, no harm. This 1 and 2, we got 4, no harm. This 1 and 1, we got 4, that's all good. Okay. That's the idea of rounding. Second thing we're doing that's like a subtopic of this is a thing called estimating. Estimating is using rounding to come up with answers that are about right. Okay. So if you don't actually care what the true answer is, but you're satisfied just getting close, that's what estimating comes in for. 498 is about 500. If you round to this place, 498, super close to 500. 307, you want to round that to the same place, that's about 300. If you add those up, you're going to get about 800, that's estimating. True answer, 805, we don't care about the true answer at 805. If I made this 317, it's the same result. If I made this 491, it's the same result. We don't care about those little changes. Okay, we want to be just about how big is this, round it to the hundreds, round this to the same place, do enough. Here's a division version of the same thing. 803 is about like 800. 197 is about like 200. We learned on division day a few days ago, if these have mutually shared zeros, you can just scrub those away. And 200 into 800 is just like 2 into 8. Goes 4. Real answer would be 4 with the remainder of 15. We don't care about the remainders. We're just trying to do like about how big would the answer be we're fine with the 4 for estimating. Same kind of thing here. 1294, you might be tempted to go to 1,000, but I wouldn't do that. You want to try to round when you can to the same place. Okay? So 697 has to round to the hundreds place and get you 700. So if you're rounding this to the hundreds place, round this to the hundreds place. The 2, because of the 9, gets pushed up to 1,300, and then do the subtraction. It's got to end with the double zeros, and 13 minus 6, that's 7. Homework, we're going to be in 2 locations, which isn't new for us. But what is new is one of the locations. On 36, we're going to work the letters from A to F, like we often do. The 36 A to F is estimating questions. Don't add up to get exact answers. I don't want you to add up to get an exact, 1 and 7 is 8, etc. What I want you to do is don't copy the original problem. When you copy the problem, copy down a rounded problem to do an estimating answer. Bunches of zeros, looking at those when you change those, and then do an estimated answer. Then the main thing is a 1 to 25, but not on a page. If you go all the way toward the back of your book, there's some sets that are designed to do certain skills. Today's main skill is rounding. If we did the normal book page might have like 1 or 2 rounding questions, and today I want to do an emphasis on rounding. So all the way to the back of the book, there's a set D. Set D is on page 359. We're going to do the 1 to 25 of set D. We could have done set A on multiply day if I wanted to just do multiply, but I wasn't in that mood. I was in the mood to still do a mix of things. Set B was a divide set. I didn't feel like doing that day either. Set C was more of a place value kind of set. I didn't feel like doing that either. We just did the normal 1 to 25s in the pages those days. I do feel like rounding here on set D. For set D, as I think stroll slightly back to the left, on set D, 1 to 8, you're rounding to the 10. 10 has a 0. All of those first 8 answers should end in a 0. Maybe more than 1 0, but for sure 1 0 every time. Then they do rounding to the 100 from 9 to 16. So you should have 2 zeros to end every answer from 9 to 16. Sometimes more if you luck your way into a bonus 0. And then the last group from 17 to 25 is rounding to the 1,000. So you should have 3 zeros for all answers from 17 to 25. Maybe even a lucky 4th 0 from time to time. They don't do any rounding to the 10,000, but didn't hurt us to practice that a little bit. But that's your homework from lesson 16.